All right, let's get Jemele Hill on right now. Jemele, an amazing broadcaster, an amazing journalist, writes for The Atlantic. She's got her podcast on Wednesday. What else do you do, Jemele? You got so much going on. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I do have a few things going on. First of all, I need to find out about that putter. I'll be
Are you a
rewinding
golfer?
this back. I am. I'm obsessed with it now.
All right, do you like the thinner blade putter, or do you like a wide back kind of?
I like a wide back. Yeah.
Make a note. We are sending Jemele Hill, courtesy of LA Golf, the unbelievable Malibu XT putter. You are going to make so much money out there. You're not going to know what's happening.
But to answer your question, Billy, in addition to having my own YouTube show, I also have a podcast called Politics, Sports and Politics, that airs every Thursday on iHeart, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
What do you like better, sports or politics? Where do you get the charge?
I like the combination of both because
Yeah.
the beauty they're very good in terms of playing off one another, despite the fact that we have a huge segment of the population that does not either want them together or doesn't think they belong together. But the
Yeah.
reality is that sports is one of the few things we actually still do together in this country, right? Where we live largely segregated lives, but you can have people across different races, socioeconomic backgrounds. They can all be Laker fans, right? And then politics are much more divisive, but through sports, we can actually see how politics works and we can actually listen to different viewpoints because it's so much different if your favorite athlete is saying it
Yeah.
or if your favorite athlete experiences it versus how you see other people that you don't know experience it.
Well, the president of the United States says he's a 2 handicap, so I've got an idea. Since I'm sending you the LA Golf Malibu XT tungsten face putter, if this thing starts rolling putts for you,
Oh, I'm gonna testify. Don't worry about it.
Saquon Barkley is getting a whole bunch of heat from people for playing golf with Trump down in Florida and then flying with him on Air Force One up to the celebration with the Eagles at the White House. First of all, do you think that that's fair? Saquon says, hey, respect for the office. I played with Obama not long ago. And then second part of the question, would you play with Trump if that putter got working for you?
Uh, as for me, to quote a line from Boomerang that Eddie Murphy starred in, not even if Jesus was pouring it. But I have a different position. Obviously, there are things politically I don't agree with Donald Trump. We have personal history,
Yeah.
obviously as well. And I don't have an issue with athletes deciding that they want to support or not support Donald Trump. And what's interesting to me is that Saquon is able to freely speak about the fact that hey, I respect the office. I'm just playing golf. It's not a big deal. But on the other side of it, there was a report also out that Jalen Hurts and several other Eagles are not going to be coming, and they're saying it's scheduling conflict. To me, if they don't agree with something the president has done, they should be allowed to say that.
Say it.
I've never, yeah, just, I mean, they don't have to, but I think clearly they're using scheduling conflicts as a bit of a cover, and I don't think they should have to do that. Like, if they don't agree with something he has done, and especially if they're a black player, when you look at some of the things that this administration has done, particularly that impacts black people, you cannot be surprised. I mean, we're just a few weeks out removed from when the Department of Defense tried to erase Jackie Robinson's military history from their website. They've attacked DEI, which means that there's a version of history they're trying to tell the American people is not true. They're removing artifacts from the National African American History Museum here in Washington, D.C., where I'm currently at right now. So if you were in a ton of other things that they've done that many black people can argue is in the direct opposition to what they stand for, yeah, if they have a problem with the president, it's fine. Right. And so this is part of what this democracy and experiment about free speech is about, is that it's supposed to give us the freedom to speak out against the government without retribution. So I don't have, while I may disagree with what Saquon did, I don't disavow his right to do that. But I just want that same level of they can explain why they don't want to do it without facing any kind of retribution. I want the players that decided not to attend the White House
Tell
celebration
us why.
to be given that same freedom.
But why, you mentioned, so many affronts to black people. Why did more black people vote for Donald Trump than ever have before for any Republican candidate, and a lot more than he had the first time around?
I think we need to keep it in perspective. More Black people did, but we need to realize that was still very low. Okay.
Yeah, it's low.
And, 92% of Black women
By the way,
voted
with
against
Latinos,
Donald.
it was much
It was
higher
much,
and
it was far,
noticeably
far
higher.
higher. It was noticeably
It's
higher.
also noticeably
And
down again now that, but in the beginning they were excited.
for, I mean, for reasons everybody told them before this moment, right? But I do think that there was a level of frustration. There's a level of frustration that people just naturally carry when it comes to government. It doesn't matter who's in office. There are people who will always, and understandably so, because of so many other factors and issues impacting this country, that feel like my quality of life should be better. When we look at the amount of money that is generated in the United States and what our healthcare system looks like, what our educational system looks like, a lot of people are upset. And so what happens is sometimes in frustration, people have a burn it all down mentality. There was a segment and continues to be a segment, understandably so, of Black voters who are very dissatisfied with the lack of progress. And to quote
Yeah, they're
the Maryland,
dissatisfied with the socioeconomic, differences in their
that's
life. They don't see their lives getting
that's what
any
I
better,
mean.
and they're
Any
saying, "Well,
materially better.
maybe this guy will give me a chance at doing better."
Of course. And to quote the really good governor, I think, out of Maryland, Wes Moore, he said that, while Trump is the vessel for frustration, he's not the solution.
Yeah.
Because a lot of his platform is about grievance and getting back what's yours and getting back what you rightfully deserves. And that's a message that resonates with a lot of people, Black, white, Latino, it doesn't matter. But he is not the person to actually execute on making people's lives better for a certain part of our society that feels like they have been overlooked and left behind.
Years ago, right? Okay, so you fell out with ESPN or got suspended, and then you ultimately walked away. But you called Trump a white supremacist. Would you change that today and just call him a supremacist, or do you believe it still today?
No, I think I'm even more right today than I was then.
Oh, you stand
I
on it.
would. Oh,
I mean, listen, I would offer
I
he's a
stand 10 toes
supremacist
down on
in a
it.
way that he thinks everyone, he's better than literally everyone, white people, Black people, all kinds of people. But you think that he is like a true full-blown racist.
I do because even though, and this is where people I think get a little confused, is they see Trump, like for example, playing golf with Saquon Barkley,
Yeah.
and they think, oh, that's proof he's not a racist. Billy, I call this the Sal's Pizzeria theory. If you've ever seen Do the Right Thing, that was directed by and he starred in the wonderful Spike Lee. There's a scene in Do the Right Thing where he's with John Turturro. They're in Sal's Pizzeria, and he calls John Turturro out because he says, I don't understand why you call Black people these racial slurs, and yet your favorite Black athlete is Magic Johnson, your favorite singer is Prince, and he lists all these Black people that are his favorites. And what does John Turturro say? He says, oh, they're Black, but they're not Black. And for a lot of people who look at Black people, especially entertainers, people that they enjoy into entertaining them, they don't see those Black people as the imaginary Black people that live in their head, the type of Black people that they think is beneath them. And so I think Donald Trump has a very long history.
But doesn't every group have that? Like there's well-heeled white people, and then there's trailer trash.
Yeah, but there's a difference though between being bigoted and there's a difference between being a white supremacist, because Donald Trump and his actions has shown that there's a superiority that he feels that not only he has and not only the rich has, to your point about this is just about the fact that economically he just thinks he's more powerful than people. And I will grant you that that is true. But that's why I brought up these specific attacks on history. Why would Donald Trump have a problem? He called the National African American Museum here in DC, which I can tell you, having been through it, I've been through it. It was a 6-hour experience. It's one of the best museums in the world that takes you through the entire history of America. This isn't just Black people. Why would he call why would he call this museum ideologically unacceptable? All these DEI claims, the poster children that he's putting before people to prove that only a certain amount of people deserve these type of jobs or deserve these type of opportunities. And he's targeting Black people in particular, even though Black people are not the largest beneficiaries of DEI. It's actually white women. But he wants to use Black people as an avatar to gin up all the racism that unfortunately too many of our citizens still feel. Meanwhile, he's got the most unqualified cabinet we've ever seen. So
Mm.
we're to believe that only white people are the ones who are able to get these opportunities. They're the only ones qualified for certain opportunity. But you got Pete Hegseth that doesn't know the difference between a group chat on Signal
Oh,
and what he's
yeah.
supposed to be doing.
There's no
You know what I'm
question
saying?
about Hegseth being he's out of his league. There's no question about that. I mean, that man has stepped in it repeatedly. I think everybody knew it. But Trump only, listen, when I say supremacist, I mean, he really wants loyalty, adherence to the king. He wants that, and he gets that from Pete. He gets that from Pete. Boy, is he getting it from Marco these days. Little Marco is sitting in there. Every time a world leader comes in, they all sit and they do the live show. They do the live podcast right around the chairs, and Marco's there, and Pam Bondi's there, and then the Prime Minister of Ireland or Norway or something, he's there. And Marco, it's almost like written in the contract. Okay, Marco, your turn to just praise me shamelessly live on TV. And Marco always takes the bait. Oh my God, it's exhausting. Holy
Yeah,
mackerel.
it's
Poor
a
guy.
little, as I
Little
said
Marco.
to people before, this season of America would be really funny and really dramatic if it wasn't actually also true.
Okay, let's talk about Stephen A. for a second. Stephen A. was fired up, but he thought that, he put out some type of idea that maybe NFL owners or whatever colluded in some way to bury Shedeur Sanders further down the draft. He was supposed to be a top 3. He didn't go until the 5th round in the 6th pick. Do you see that, or do you? To me, that doesn't line up. I think Stephen misspoke.
I don't think he misspoke. I think he meant what he said, but I just
Do you agree with it?
disagree. And
No.
no, I don't. I don't agree with him. Number one, this is, I mean, I've watched a thousand NFL drafts, excuse me. And while there's usually a little bit of a gap between what the media puts out there and what NFL personnel and decision makers are actually thinking, it's not this wide. I've talked to some NFL people I know as well about this because I just could not understand why is it that people in the media kept saying that this was a first round pick. Like they made it seem like Shedeur Sanders was a lock as a first round pick, and he wasn't.
He wasn't.
The grade
Exactly.
he was not. He wasn't close to that. The grade on Shedeur Sanders was second, third round pick. That was the grade. And this idea that he was entitled to be a top 5 quarterback wasn't just never true. And I think if you are to believe some of the reports, and at first I thought it was just usual draft nonsense that happens every year where some anonymous scout or anonymous team executive says something that runs left about some player in the draft. And it's usually a little bit of gamesmanship where they're just saying that because they want that prospect to drop to their team. They want to take their value a little bit, maybe get a bargain. But these reports continually that we're hearing about Shedeur not respecting the draft process. And what I mean by that is that, he didn't work out, which is fine because a lot of quarterbacks don't do that. That's not a big deal. He didn't go to the combine to work out. A lot of players didn't do that. But in the interviews itself, NFL personnel got the feeling that he was tanking certain interviews because he was trying to dictate where he would be selected. And when NFL
There
personnel,
you
when
go.
they pick up on that, when they feel like you're disrespecting the process, that is going to cost you. And
That's
so
it.
I don't think there
Eli
was some
Manning
kind
got
of
away with
meeting.
that when he said, "I'm not playing in San Diego." Right?
But you
Remember?
know why Eli Manning, and I really hate that analogy. You know why Eli Manning, and I was a Heisman voter when Eli Manning was in college. I put him third on my ballot because he was a hell of a quarterback, right?
Oh yeah.
Eli Manning was a bona fide, for sure, first for certain
Yeah.
top 5 pick. Peyton Manning was going to be a generational talent, and everybody knew it. Shedeur Sanders is not thought of in the same way.
Yeah.
So you know this about the NFL. They don't care if you're a psychopath. They don't care what's on your record.
Clearly.
If the talent justifies them drafting you, they're going to draft you. They don't care. So this idea that they would all somehow send the back signal and the smoke signal to each other. We're not going to draft this talented quarterback, which, oh, by the way, is representing the most important position on the field.
Yeah.
I do not buy this. They never thought he was a first round talent and how he approached his draft process. And he even admitted, Shedeur, out of his own mouth, told reporters that he wishes some of it he would have handled differently.
Yeah.
Again, That's what this is about.
And what about, I mean, and then there's the pressure to play him. Okay, so you're a team, you do draft Shedeur Sanders, and then you got the pressure to play the guy. Let's say one thing: as soon as your starter has a bad game, what happens when you have a Shedeur Sanders, the son of Deion, who's on the sideline? Right, the fans start clamoring, play him, like Tim Tebow. You got to play him. He's a star. And then. Oh, it's so much drama in your media and your press, and then what? You throw him in way before. It was just a lot of noise, And he's the fifth quarterback on the Browns, and he was excited about it. To his credit, when he got selected 144th overall, he was like, "Hey, Tom Brady was worse. Look where he ended up."
I mean, no disrespect to the other quarterbacks who are in that room, but if I was Shedeur Sanders, I would have been excited too, because
Yes.
that's a room he could win.
That's what you want.
Yeah, you want an opportunity, because typically people chosen in the fifth round, people have to understand it's a bit of a crapshoot whether or not you'll even make the team. But this is a quarterback room. I think he's an opportunity to win. Listen, if he's as good as he thinks he is, if he's as good and as he thinks he should have been drafted, this is now his opportunity to shut a lot of people up and make them look bad. So let's hope that his mindset heading into Cleveland is going to be one where he's trying to win that room.
Totally. Amen. He's in the best position to win now. This is exactly where you want him. Expectations, under promise, over deliver. Let's talk Shannon Sharpe for a second. Jemele Hill is with us right now on Hot Mics. He's being accused of rape, sexual assault, battery by an OnlyFans performer, Gabby Zuniga, $50 million lawsuit. He's 56. She's 22. Shannon stepped away from ESPN voluntarily. He indicated he would be back on First Take by the start of the NFL preseason. Do you think you know the place? Is that likely?
I don't. I mean, there for a moment I thought it was likely, but as you know, Billy, every 20 minutes we're getting new information, and new information that's not good. This is for ESPN/Disney, because people have to remember Disney is the parent company.
Yeah.
This is not about guilt or innocence. This is about embarrassment. This is about, do we want one of our most popular shows associated with something that is bringing about this much negativity and these many unsavory headlines? This entire thing feels extremely uncomfortable. I'm someone who I wouldn't misrepresent our relationship and necessarily call us friends, but me and Shannon are very cool. Like, I've known him for years. He's presented himself to me to be a very good guy, very humble guy, very focused, and
just likes it freaky, maybe.
I don't know shit about that. I don't know nothing about that.
I mean, I'm just connecting available dots.
I mean, but again, how he presents to me is irrelevant, right? Because there's clearly a lot more going on there. But that's part of this. I mean, to be honest, not trying to dismiss or diminish what the serious parts of these allegations are, but we learned a lot about Shannon we don't really want to know. At least I didn't. I didn't wake up saying, like, I wanted to know about this kind of racialized role play that's happening here. Like, I didn't want to know nothing about that.
Yeah.
It's like zero.
Talk about an age difference, though. What about Belichick? Belichick, 73. His lady is 24. Come on, man. Are you kidding me? What's happening? He was lauded. He was revered like Vince Lombardi, this guy. And now he's got a 24-year-old in the room going, we're not answering that question. And they're dressed up as mermaids.
It's not even about, it's about him being revered, like you said, given his stature and place of the game. In the modern NFL, he's the greatest coach ever in the modern NFL, right? In the salary cap era NFL is Bill Belichick. And how Bill Belichick presented himself every week as head coach of the Patriots is somebody who's in control at all times, who knows how not to give the media a story, who's very savvy, sometimes to the point of disrespectful, about his private life and about how he presents himself. And to see Bill Belichick being the age that he is and getting his pockets run by a 20-something-year-old is something I never had on the bingo card. I just didn't. Of all the men that I would think might be in this situation, it's like, dude, you got a 24-year-old running your life. Like, this is...
She's going to be on the sideline as a defensive coordinator. She's going to be calling in plays. I mean, I can see it right now, and he's just going to say, okay.
I mean, at first I thought this is just one of those relationships But I
Oh,
think the part that is so alarming to a lot of people having watched what we watched on 60 Minutes is that she in control. Like she's the boss of Bill Belichick. Tom Brady, who is the greatest quarterback ever, couldn't be the boss of Bill Belichick, but a 24-year-old can,
well,
which says
you know
something
what they say
about
is
what brings
undefeated.
down powerful men. Exactly.
You
You
know
already know.
you know what they say is undefeated.
I know it.
Just to
I
save
can
myself,
tell
I'm going to
you.
say the internet, but
Yeah, it ain't the internet that's
it
undefeated,
ain't the internet.
and there is many a man in history
Oh,
that can testify to what's undefeated in this equation.
100%, and it's not even like this is an 86-0 blowout undefeated. This is unbelievable. Jemele Hill, you're amazing. You check her out in the Atlantic. She writes in the Atlantic, the weekly YouTube show, What the Hell Wednesday, and a podcast on iHeart called Spolitics. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. You're amazing.
Anytime, Billy. Take care.